I want to say shalom to everybody. This is Yoshaya Ben Yisrael. I know I haven't done anything in about almost 2 weeks, and I wanted to make sure that I came out with something that we've talked about previously. We're going to talk about how the law defines the wheat and the tare. Now, I know many of us growing up in religious institutions, we've heard the wheat and the tare explained. But there is one thing that has been left out, and it's not that I don't believe it's because pastors just didn't want to tell the truth. I believe that many just didn't know. And one of the things that defines the difference between the wheat and the tare is the law. And you see, if you don't believe in the law, then you can understand it the way that it's been understood in the church where you may have grown up, because I know within Christianity, the law is not taught. The law is not expounded upon. The law is something that has been done away with. But if you'll just bear with me for a second and don't turn this off, because I'm speaking about the law, I'm speaking about the older covenant, or what is called the Old Testament. Just bear with me. I'm going to prove to you how the law actually defines who the righteous and the wicked are. So we're going to go through this and talk about this. I first want to start in 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. I'm going to be reading from the King James because I know that many of my Christian friends and those who are in Christianity, you'd like to use the King James. And so I want to speak to you in the language of the King James. And then that way you don't have to worry about saying that I'm using another scripture or anything of that nature. Well, let's just break it down in the King James. And just remember, I'm not attacking what we all grew up in no means. I consider myself to be a bridge to help bring people from one side over to the other. And that the Most High gives understanding to his word. It's nothing that Yoshaya has made up, not at all. But it's to show us how if we don't pay attention to the commandments of the Most High, how it steers us away from every other thing that is taught, especially in the newer covenant. If you can do away with the law, the newer covenant is an easy thing to do. You don't have to be, there's no obedience and things of that nature. So, and I'm not saying that to offend anybody, but it's just the way that it is and the way that we've been taught. So let's go through this. Let's look at 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4, and we're going to read from the King James Version. It says, "Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law." Now, what law would John be talking about? Well, of course, biblically, having a biblical understanding, you understand that the law comes from the first 5 books of the Bible, which is called the Torah, or the books of the law. I like to call the law instruction, because that's basically what it is. It's instruction. It gives us instructions, and it tells us, hey, son, if you want to make it, or daughter, if you want to make it into the kingdom, I'm going to give you some instructions to follow. Follow them very carefully. Now, if we use the word law, you've heard me say before, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. It's just about perspective and how you look at it. So the Most High has given us instructions. But whosoever committeth sin, so transgresses also the law. So we know that sin is not defined except for the law. So if you committeth sin, then you have broken a law that the Most High Yah has given us. So without the law, and I know this to some of you may be profound, to some of you, you're like, yeah, that's crazy. But without the law, there is no sin. You can do what you want to do without the law. A man can lay with another man. It's not a sin without the law. You can steal without the law. You can commit adultery on your wife. If you don't have the law, it doesn't matter. Okay? So I hope we get the understanding. Whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law. For sin is transgression of the law. Okay. Now, this is why it's very important that we watch when we talk about the wheat and the tare, because the sin or lawlessness, we're going to see that the law is actually what defines is a defining thing between the wheat and the tares. So let's go ahead and go there. Let's go ahead and go to Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13, and we are going to speak, we're going to start in verse 24. Matthew 13, verse 24. It says, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let them both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So we see here that the tares are going to be taken first, or gathered first. See, that kind of goes against the rapture doctrine that is taught us in Christianity. Yes, there's going to be a taking away, but it's not like it's been taught to us in Christianity, where before everything goes haywire, we're all going to be taken up out of here. He says, according to this, that when he comes, first they're going to take up the tare or the darnel, and they are going to be taken up and they are going to be burned in the fire. But the good wheat is going to be left. Okay, so let's go on down to verse 36. It says, Then Yeshua sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came to him, saying, Declare to us the parable of the tares of the field. Now, I know that in our religious institutions, and this is, I'm going to teach you the way that I was taught. And I'm not going to say everyone taught this, but for the majority of us, I'm pretty sure that this is going to affect. What was said was that the wheat are the Christians, they're the believers, and that the tares are the wicked people. My question is this. If you are a righteous person, how do you look like the unrighteous? If we have a beautiful woman, of a daughter of Zion, a daughter of Yah, and we have a prostitute on the corner, how, by looking at their life, do they look alike? See, that's a good or that's a bad. One or the other, good or bad. But it says with this wheat or this tare that was sown, it grew up just like the wheat. Couldn't tell a difference. The only difference you could tell was when it produced fruit. So let's let the scripture define scripture, because this is what is being said. Now, even his disciples had to come to him and ask him about that. They had to come to him and ask him, explain to us what you meant by that parable. So they walked with him, but yet they had a lack of understanding. And also with us, we can have a lack of understanding of what is really being said. So it's very important that we put everything that we have learned, just put that to the side and let the word speak to us. Not religion, not doctrine, not what pastor has said. Let's look and see what the word says about this. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick on up, and we're going to start in verse 37. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth good seed is the Son of Man. Talking about Yeshua. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. So we know that we're talking about a future event. This isn't something that's happened in the past. This is talking about the future. Remember the older covenant law. He's going to be using this in the future. Okay? The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. And the reapers are the angels or the malaks or the messengers. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be at the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. Now, that's a big word right there, and I think we need to look at that word, iniquity. And I'm gonna look this up and give you the Hebrew number for, or actually it's going to be the Greek number for iniquity. The Greek number for iniquity is G458. G458, and that Greek word is anomia. Anomia, okay? And anomia means illegality. Illegality. Something has to be legal. There has to be a law established in order for something to be illegal. If there is not a law for it, then it's legal. I mean, you can do it. There's not a problem. But if there is a law setting up instructions against a particular thing, then we know that if you commit that, if you break that law, it is illegal. It is illegality, okay? So we know that it's illegal. That is a violation of the law. That's what it says. Look that word up. You can go to a Strong's Concordance. You can get online and look up the Strong's Concordance and type in, let me pull that word back up, that number back up, G458. Look that word up and you'll see. And I'm not just telling you, I'm telling you what it says. Violation of the law. Whose law? Where do we get the law? Don't we get it from the first 5 books? From the Torah? Don't we also find out some of the commandments of the Most High from the prophets? Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, all of those. And also from what they call the minor prophets. They're all prophets. And also the writings. We're going to find things in there as well. So we see that iniquity means violation of the law. Now, I don't understand why they didn't put that in there. Why didn't they just go ahead and say lawless? The newer translations or the scriptures versions translation that I use, it does say lawlessness. Okay. But they put iniquity in there because if you say iniquity and you don't know that iniquity is basically violating the law, and if you don't look it up, then you will tend to believe that there is no law. Thus, where is iniquity coming from? And it also says wickedness. So wickedness is defined by violating the law. If we violate the law, we commit sin, wickedness, iniquity. That's what those words all come back to, is violating the law. So the law is very important when it comes to the wheat and the tare. What separates the wheat and the tare? Also, verse 40, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be at the end of the world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the son of the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Okay, so we understand now that the righteous are those who keep the commandments, those who keep the law. That is what defines the wheat and the tare. Now, let's look at the product between the wheat and the tare. Something has to define the wheat from the tare. Remember, they both grow up together looking alike. And what I'm getting ready to say right now, I say this out of love. And I say this out of love to try to give some understanding to what has been taught and to what the scripture is actually saying. I'm going to do some comparison, okay? Now, if you have two things that grow up together, wheat and tare, they both look alike growing up. All right. Now, there's going to be a difference that comes out at the end that's going to separate the wheat from the tare. The wheat may have 4 blades. And I'm not saying that it does. I'm using this as an example. The tare might only have 1. So when the wheat grows up and they start blading and started getting the fruit on it, guess what? The tare produces 1, the wheat produces 4. Okay? Now, again, when they're all looking alike, you don't know the difference. There's something that separates them. Let's bring the law into this. Okay? We're going to bring the law into this. How about keeping the Sabbath? The wheat and the tare. Does the tare keep the Sabbath? No, it does not. So therefore, it does not look like the wheat. Why? Because it's lawless. So because it is lawless, it doesn't. I mean, it looks like it growing up, but when it comes down to see the fruit, boom. No, the wheat keeps the law and the tare does not keep the law. So the wheat keeps the Sabbath. The tare does not keep the Sabbath. It keeps the first day instead of the 7th day. How about holidays? The Bible has holy days, okay? The wheat is growing up. The scripture teach us to keep the holy days. There's a tare. The tare doesn't keep the holy days. The tare keeps men's pagan days. The wheat, they keep the holy days that is written in the law. So you've got one that keeps the law, one that doesn't. You've got one that will keep the Passover, and you've got another one that will keep a pagan Easter. See, when you look that word Easter, it comes up to Ishtar. That's why Ishtar was a fertility goddess, and she produced eggs. I mean, she returned in an egg. That's why you have a rabbit and eggs being put in there. Now, what a rabbit and eggs have to do with each other other than pagan religion, I have no idea. So I hope you see one keeps the law, one doesn't. I can keep going, and I'm not going to do that because I don't want to cause anybody to not listen because of the teaching. But you have to clearly understand it is very, very, very important to keep the law of the Most High in order to be wheat. If you choose or if you listen to someone who tells you the law no longer exists and you don't have to follow that, you're just doing works. Well, of course, we did one on James, talks about you need to have belief and you need to have works together. So if you just believe, that's not enough. You have to have the law to go with your belief. So I hope you understand the difference between the wheat and the tare and what separates them. The wheat keep the law. The tares does not keep the law. And when the Most High returns, he's going to say, away from me, you workers of lawlessness or wickedness or iniquity. That's because those who are lawless and iniquity failed to keep the commandments or failed to keep the laws that were established and given to us to keep us in line with the word, to keep us in line as kingdom people, as priests of his. That's why the Most High gave us that. And so I hope this gave you a good understanding of the difference between the wheat and the tare, or darnel, as many will say. And it's nothing to divide. It's something to bring us closer to what the Most High Yahuwah wants us to have. And if you have any questions, you can contact me. You can contact me by Facebook. You can also contact me by email at yoshaya8@gmail.com. If you have any questions. If you're a pastor and you have a problem with what I'm saying, please give me a call. Contact me through Facebook or Gmail. And I'll give you my number and we can chat and we can talk. We can talk in love and talk in peace. Doesn't have to be an argument or anything like that. But I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope that you see that that one word, iniquity, is the defining word that separates the wheat from the tare. If you do not keep the commandments of the Most High, you cannot be considered wheat. You're going to be considered tare. I say shalom, shalom to you, and I hope that this has been great, and I will be continually to put some things out, and I hope you all have enjoyed this. Shalom.
Yah is so good.
You've been so good to me, Yah. From the earth to the grave, I'ma be his slave. I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, yeah.
Yah is so good.
Through the smiles and the pain, sunshine and rain, I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, serve Yah. First, let's start by giving him some praise. He's the one that gives us breath each and every day. The one that spoke to the light and it came to be. Abba Yah sent the son to set the captives free. And he came to give us life more abundantly. After all that you did, how can I run from thee? I sold drugs to your people and you still love me. Gave me a fresh new start so the world can see. I'm in debt, I owe the Most High for life. Gave me your salvation and a beautiful wife. Filled me with your spirit so I could live right. The comfort of strength is me for every fight. Gave me the courage to preach to the lost. People living like I did, thinking they the boss. I surrender all, Yah, cause your word's so true. I dedicate my life for service to you, yeah.
Yah is so good.
You've been so good to me, Yah. From the earth to the grave, I'ma be his slave. I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, yeah.
Yah is so good.
You're so good, Yah. Through the smiles and the pain, sunshine and rain, I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, serve Yah. Serving is ministry in the streets. Yahshua showed us how to serve, wash the people's feet, break his bread, his body, and his blood for free. If you don't do this, you have no part with me. I wanna part with him, so I'm willing to serve. On the highways, hedges, building streets and curb. The greatest among you is the servant of all. With this truth, I wanna reach more people than Paul. Serve like Shem and Eber, I'ma teach these brews. Keep his right commandments, and we will not lose. Serve like Enoch on the block, send the people to me. Teach his people Torah about iniquity. His word sticks with me, yeah, I wanted to show. Serve like Moses with the rock, yeah, I want that glow. Serve like Yash, lead the people to the promised land. I'ma serve and watch my Father's word expand, yeah.
Yah is so good.
You've been so good to me, Yah. From the earth to the grave, I'ma be his slave. I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, yeah.
Yah is so good.
You're so good, Yah. Through the smiles and the pain, sunshine and rain, I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, serve Yah. Serve like Ezra, teach the people the laws. Like Nehemiah, building up these spiritual walls. Name not Obadiah, still a servant of Yah. Bowing on my knees, praying, and it's not to a lie. I'm a servant of Yah, I'm a serve for truth. Like the Hebrews with Yah, I'm fireproof. With Yah on my side, I can make it through. I dedicate my life for service to you, yeah.
Yah is so good.
You've been so good to me, Yah. From the earth to the grave, I'ma be his slave. I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, yeah.
Yah is so good.
You're so good, Yah. Through the smiles and the pain, sunshine and rain, I'ma serve Yah, I'ma serve Yah, serve Yah.
Yah is so good.
Yah is so good. Serve him while you can. Serve him while you can. Come on, yeah, it's real. Can't be taken all day. It's time to get your life right with Yah right now. Serve him while you can. Serve him while you can. Come on, yeah, it's real. And serve the Most High in spirit and truth. We out.